Hello everyone, I'm Alex. Today, I want to share with you the incredible story of Rachel, a woman who never expected to become a mother but found herself fighting for justice and love in the most unexpected way. Justice may be delayed, but it is never denied. That is the powerful message of this story. Rachel's journey begins as a successful career woman, focused on building her life on her own terms. But when her sister Vanessa commits the ultimate betrayal, abandoning her own children at an airport to escape her crimes, Rachel is forced to step up. What follows is a gripping tale of deception, resilience, and redemption, a battle not just against Vanessa and her schemes, but also against a system that doesn't always favor those who do the right thing. Stay with me as we dive into a story of heartbreak, courage, and the undeniable power of justice. On a crisp Sunday morning, as the golden sunlight streamed through the windows of her sleek, high-rise apartment in downtown Boston, Rachel Donovan, 42, was deeply engrossed in reviewing financial reports. As a senior executive at a top investment firm, quiet weekend work had become a necessity rather than a choice. The aroma of freshly brewed Colombian coffee lingered in the air, complementing the faint hum of classical music playing from her wireless speakers. Rachel took a moment to glance outside. The city skyline stretched before her, a testament to everything she had worked for, years of dedication, countless sacrifices, and an unwavering focus on her career. She had built this life on her own terms, in stark contrast to her younger sister Vanessa Whitmore, 38, who had married into wealth and seemed to spend her days flaunting an extravagant lifestyle on Instagram. Her phone buzzed, shattering the serene atmosphere. It was Vanessa. "Rachel, can you come over today? I'm hosting a family brunch, Mom's coming too. It'll be fun." There was no warmth in her voice, just the usual commanding tone that Rachel had grown accustomed to. "Vanessa, I have a lot of work to. I already ordered catering from Legal Seafoods. It's all set. Just come." Rachel sighed. Declining Vanessa's invitations was more trouble than it was worth. Their mother, Margaret Donovan, 67, a woman who valued appearances above all else, would surely guilt-trip her about family obligations. An hour later, Rachel arrived at Vanessa's sprawling Brookline estate, a colonial-style mansion that practically screamed opulence. A brand-new Range Rover, a testament to Vanessa's obsession with luxury, gleamed in the driveway. As she stepped inside, Rachel was immediately enveloped by the scent of truffle-infused eggs Benedict and warm lobster croissants, carefully arranged on an imported marble dining table. "Welcome, darling." Margaret greeted her, her Tiffany silver necklace swaying elegantly. "Vanessa has outdone herself again. She's truly living the dream, isn't she?" Rachel forced a polite smile. That dream was built on something artificial. She had always suspected that Vanessa's life wasn't as perfect as it seemed. But today, she had no idea how deep the deception ran. The twins, Sophie and Olivia, 5 years old, came running up to her in matching Ralph Lauren dresses. "Aunt Rachel. Are you coming to Hawaii with us?" Rachel's brow furrowed. "Hawaii? Oh, didn't I tell you?" Vanessa's voice dripped with false innocence. "We're taking a family trip next month. Michael's company is doing great. You should come. You work too much, Rachel. It's time you learned to enjoy life." Rachel felt the familiar pang of irritation. Vanessa had always belittled her independence, always insinuated that success without a husband and children was somehow incomplete. "I don't know. Work is." "Come on," Vanessa interrupted, flashing a knowing smirk. "What else are you going to do? Sit alone in that cold, corporate apartment?" Margaret chuckled approvingly, already shifting her focus back to taking perfectly curated Instagram photos of the brunch. Rachel hesitated. Something about this invitation felt off. But when the twins' innocent voices pleaded again, she gave in. "All right. I haven't been to Hawaii in years." If only she knew that this trip would turn into the biggest betrayal of her life. Rachel Donovan had always trusted her instincts. As a high-ranking executive in the investment world, she thrived on precision and control. Yet, as she pulled into Boston Logan International Airport that Saturday morning, a nagging unease clung to her thoughts. Maybe it was Vanessa's casual, almost dismissive confirmation text the night before. Maybe it was the way their mother, Margaret, had avoided eye contact and they last spoke about the trip. Or maybe it was simply Rachel's gut warning her, something wasn't right. She had meticulously planned everything. Her American Airlines app displayed a confirmed reservation. She had packed lightly, just a Rimowa carry-on, sunscreen she'd picked up at Walgreens, and a new swimsuit for the trip. Despite her hesitation, a part of her was looking forward to unwinding in Oahu's luxurious resorts. As she wheeled her suitcase toward the check-in counter, the familiar sounds of a bustling airport surrounded her. Families excitedly chatted about their vacations, airline agents processed passengers with robotic efficiency, and overhead announcements reminded travelers to keep their belongings close. Good morning. I'm checking in for the 9:45 a.m. flight to Honolulu. Rachel slid her Platinum Rewards card across the counter. The agent's fingers paused mid-typing. A flicker of confusion crossed her face before she quickly masked it with professionalism. Name: Rachel Donovan. A longer pause. The woman's eyes darted back to the screen. I'm sorry, Miss Donovan, but your reservation was cancelled last night. Rachel blinked. That's impossible. I have a confirmation email. She immediately pulled out her phone, her pulse quickening as she scrolled through her inbox. The confirmation was still there. She tapped it open, everything looked normal. It shows here that the Donovan party completed check-in 30 minutes ago, the agent explained cautiously. Rachel's blood ran cold. What do you mean? My sister, Vanessa Whitmore, she checked in. The agent hesitated, glancing at a supervisor before nodding. Yes, along with her husband, Michael, and 2 minors. Rachel's world tilted. She fumbled for her phone, dialing Vanessa. Straight to voicemail. Michael? Also voicemail. Then, a message notification flashed across her screen. Take care of the children. We need some time. Her breath hitched. Then another message followed, this time, an image. The twins, Sophie and Olivia, sitting on a bench near Starbucks inside Terminal B. Sophie clutched a pink Build-A-Bear teddy, Olivia's cheeks were streaked with tears. They held hands, their little faces pale with anxiety. Rachel felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she spun on her heel, abandoning her suitcase. She sprinted through the terminal, dodging passengers and luggage carts. Gate agents turned to watch, startled by the urgency in her steps. Excuse me, she gasped, rushing up to an airport staff member. I'm looking for 2 5-year-old twin girls, blonde, wearing navy blue Ralph Lauren dresses. They were last seen near Starbucks. The woman's brows furrowed. I think I saw them near the food court. Security might have. Rachel didn't wait for the rest. Her legs burned as she raced past duty-free shops and frantic travelers. And then. At Rachel. She skidded to a stop. The twins were huddled together on a bench near the escalators. Olivia was crying softly, her tiny shoulders shaking. Sophie gripped her bear with white knuckles. Rachel dropped to her knees. Oh my God. I'm here. I've got you. She pulled them into a fierce embrace. Mommy said she'd be right back, Sophie whispered against her shoulder. They said we were going to Hawaii, but then they told us to wait here. Rachel clenched her jaw. Her sister had abandoned her own children at an airport. A shadow loomed over them. Ma'am, we need to speak with you. Rachel turned to see a uniformed man, a Massport security officer. His badge glinted under the fluorescent lighting. We've been monitoring the children's situation. Let's take them somewhere safe. Rachel nodded numbly. As she stood, another buzz from her phone made her stomach churn. Another message from Vanessa. The children are in your care. The 529 plan documents are in the safe at home. This is our last chance. Rachel stared at the words, bile rising in her throat. Her sister hadn't just run away, she had planned this. A premeditated act. A cold, calculated betrayal. She barely noticed as security escorted them toward the airport security office. People stared, whispering as she walked by, two trembling little girls clinging to her hands. From the terminal windows, she could see a Boeing 787 bound for Honolulu taking off. Vanessa and Michael were on that plane, leaving behind their children, their responsibilities, their entire lives. Rachel tightened her grip on the twins. They were no longer just her nieces. They were now her responsibility. And she would never abandon them. Rachel Donovan sat in the dimly lit security office at Boston Logan International Airport, cradling a now sleeping Sophie and Olivia in her arms. The adrenaline from earlier had worn off, leaving her drained, yet her mind refused to rest. Across from her, a Boston Police Department detective, Elliot Carter, flipped through a stack of papers, his sharp eyes scanning over printouts of airport surveillance footage and the messages from Vanessa. He set them down, exhaling slowly. Your sister didn't just abandon them on a whim, he said, voice measured. She planned this. Probably for months. Rachel clenched her jaw. She had already suspected as much, but hearing it out loud made her stomach turn. What about Michael? She asked, keeping her voice low so as not to wake the girls. Both of them were confirmed on the flight manifest, Carter replied. They checked into a luxury resort in Oahu less than 2 hours after landing. Used a joint account for payment. Rachel felt her pulse quicken. They're acting like they're on vacation. Like nothing happened. Carter nodded grimly. Because, for them, nothing did. They left their problems behind, literally. But that's not the worst part. He slid a document across the table. It was a bank statement, one Rachel didn't recognize at first. But when her eyes landed on the highlighted transactions, her breath caught. The 529 education fund for the twins, once over $500,000, had been drained down to a single dollar. The withdrawals had started 3 months ago. No, she whispered, gripping the paper. No, no, no. The realization hit like a freight train. This wasn't just abandonment. Vanessa had stolen her own children's future. Where did the money go? Rachel demanded. Carter exchanged a look with a second officer, Detective Lisa Grant, before sliding over another set of documents. This is where things get messy, Grant said. A portion of it was funneled into shell accounts connected to Michael's failing company. Another large sum was wired to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, under both Vanessa's and your mother's names. Rachel's stomach lurched. My mother? Carter nodded. We believe Vanessa forged her name to secure loans and move money through multiple accounts. But she also embezzled funds from the church women's group where your mother serves as treasurer. That part? Your mother may have been completely unaware of. Rachel pressed a hand to her temple. This was worse than she imagined. Let me get this straight, she said, voice shaking with fury. Vanessa and Michael bankrupted themselves with their lifestyle, stole from their kids, stole from the church, and then dumped their children on me so they could disappear. That about sums it up, Carter confirmed. Rachel sucked in a slow breath, forcing herself to think. Vanessa had always been self-absorbed, but this was monstrous. She had betrayed everyone, including her own children. What happens next? She asked, shifting slightly as Olivia whimpered in her sleep. We're elevating this to a federal case, Grant said. Child abandonment, financial fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit embezzlement, it's a long list. And given the amount of money involved, the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is taking an interest. Rachel blinked. The FBI. We need to search Vanessa's house, Carter added. And, given the nature of this case, we'd like you to be there. Rachel exhaled, her exhaustion replaced by something far colder. Determination. Tell me when, she said. I'll be ready. Rachel Donovan stood on the steps of the Boston FBI field office, her arms wrapped protectively around Sophie and Olivia. The past 48 hours had felt like a whirlwind, police reports, legal consultations, and long, emotionally exhausting conversations. But nothing compared to what was coming next. Vanessa and Michael thought they had escaped. They were wrong. A sharp buzz from Rachel's phone made her stomach tighten. It was Detective Elliot Carter. It's happening, he said simply. We got the arrest warrant. They won't see it coming. Rachel exhaled, her grip on the phone tightening. When? Within the hour. We've coordinated with the Honolulu Police Department and federal marshals. The moment they step out of their hotel suite, it's over. Rachel glanced down at the twins, who were quietly drawing with crayons on the waiting room table. Good. She hung up and let out a slow breath. Justice was finally catching up to Vanessa and Michael. At the penthouse suite of the Four Seasons Resort in Oahu, Vanessa Whitmore adjusted the straps of her designer swimsuit, angling her face just right for a perfectly curated Instagram selfie. The ocean sparkled behind her. The caption was already forming in her mind. Sun, sand, and no worries in paradise. Mom life luxury living. She barely had time to press upload before a loud knock echoed through the suite. Michael, still groggy from the previous night's excessive drinking, frowned. Room service? The knock came again. Louder. Vanessa Whitmore and Michael Whitmore, this is the FBI. Open the door. Vanessa froze, her blood running ice cold. Michael bolted upright. What the hell? The moment he reached for the door handle, it burst open. Federal agents swarmed the suite, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them, an officer commanded. Vanessa stumbled backward, knocking over a bottle of Dom Perignon. Her perfectly manicured hands trembled as she raised them. This is a mistake, she shrieked. I'm calling my lawyer. A female FBI agent grabbed her arm, snapping the cold steel of handcuffs around her wrists. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Michael barely put up a fight. He simply sank onto the couch, hands in his lap, his expression hollow. He knew. This was the end. Outside, an ABC News helicopter circled overhead, capturing footage that would soon dominate every major news channel. The former power couple, the perfect parents of Instagram, were now just two fugitives in handcuffs, their empire of lies crumbling around them. Back in Boston, the courtroom was packed. The case had become a media sensation, a story of deception, greed, and child abandonment that gripped the nation. Rachel sat in the front row, her fingers laced tightly together. Sophie and Olivia were staying with a child psychologist, protected from the chaos of the trial. All rise. The judge, Honorable Mary Whitaker, entered the courtroom, her sharp eyes scanning the defendants. State versus Vanessa Whitmore and Michael Whitmore, the clerk announced. Vanessa was barely recognizable. Gone was the polished, confident woman. In her place sat a hollow shell, dressed in an orange prison jumpsuit, her hair dull and lifeless without its usual expensive treatments. Michael looked worse. His once tailored suits were replaced by the standard beige of a federal inmate, his face gaunt from weeks of stress. The prosecutor, Jessica Morris, rose to her feet. Your Honor, this case is not just about fraud. It is about betrayal at the deepest level. The defendants, Vanessa and Michael Whitmore, systematically stole over $500,000 from their own children, abandoned them at an airport with no plan for their welfare, and attempted to flee to another country to escape responsibility. They did this not out of desperation, but out of pure greed. Rachel swallowed hard. She had seen the evidence firsthand, but hearing it laid out so bluntly still made her chest tighten. The defense attorney stood. My clients deeply regret their actions. Rachel gritted her teeth. Regret? They didn't regret anything. They regretted getting caught. The trial continued for weeks. Evidence was stacked against them, the financial documents, the fraudulent transactions, the forged signatures in their mother's name, and, most damning of all, the airport surveillance footage of Sophie and Olivia, alone, frightened, abandoned. Vanessa broke first. One morning, she took the stand. For the first time, she looked truly broken. She started, voice shaking. I admit to everything. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Rachel narrowed her eyes. Was this genuine remorse, or just another performance? I never meant for it to go this far, Vanessa continued. I couldn't stop. The pressure. The image. I wanted the perfect life. But I lost everything. Tears welled in her eyes, but Rachel didn't feel sympathy. Vanessa had destroyed lives for the sake of appearances. Michael, when he testified, was less emotional. He simply laid out the facts, how the company had been bankrupt for years, how he hid the truth from Vanessa, how they burned through their savings, and finally, how they hatched the plan to flee. When it was finally over, the judge delivered the sentence. Vanessa Whitmore, 20 years in federal prison. A sharp gasp from Vanessa. She collapsed into her chair, shoulders shaking. Michael Whitmore, 15 years. Rachel exhaled, a weight lifting from her chest. Justice had been served. The trial was over. Vanessa and Michael were sentenced, their fates sealed. The courtroom had emptied, the media frenzy had begun to settle, but for Rachel Donovan, the real battle was just beginning. She wasn't just an aunt anymore. She was now the only person standing between Sophie and Olivia and an uncertain future. Rachel sat across from Sarah Cohen, a renowned family law attorney specializing in child abandonment cases. Stacks of legal documents covered the mahogany desk in her downtown Boston office. You have a strong case, Sarah said, adjusting her reading glasses. You were the first responder to their abandonment. You've already been their caretaker for months. But... Rachel stiffened. But what? Sarah sighed, tapping her pen against a file. Your mother, Margaret Donovan, is filing a petition for joint custody. Rachel's stomach dropped. No. Absolutely not. Margaret, the same woman who had turned a blind eye to Vanessa's manipulations, who had valued reputation over responsibility, who had ignored every red flag until it was too late, wanted legal rights over the twins. She's their grandmother, Sarah reasoned. The court might grant her partial custody unless you can prove she was complicit in Vanessa's financial fraud. Rachel's mind reeled. She had assumed Margaret would step back after what happened, but this? She never fought for them before, Rachel muttered, anger bubbling beneath her exhaustion. Why now? Sarah met her gaze. Because people like Margaret never admit fault. If she gets custody, she can rewrite the story, pretend none of this ever happened. The twins deserve stability. And right now, that means you. Rachel tightened her jaw. Then tell me what I need to do. Rachel knew she had to demonstrate more than just love, she had to prove that she could provide the best possible future for the twins. That meant adjusting everything. She met with child psychologists, ensuring the twins received trauma counseling. She enrolled them in a prestigious yet nurturing elementary school in Brookline, advocating for a structured support system. At work, she had a difficult conversation with her boss at the investment firm. Rachel, your work has always been exemplary, her manager, David Langston, said. But I need to know, can you balance this? Rachel took a deep breath. I can. I need more flexibility, but I won't let this affect my performance. David studied her for a long moment. Then, he nodded. Take the time you need. You've earned it. A lifeline. A chance to prove she could be both a mother and a professional. Still, Margaret didn't back down. In court filings, her lawyers painted Rachel as an overworked career woman, claiming she wouldn't have time to properly raise the twins. Rachel fought back with witness testimonies, from Sophie and Olivia's teachers, their therapist, even neighbors who had seen the transformation in the girls since they began living with her. Aunt Rachel reads us stories every night, Sophie told the court-appointed psychologist. She makes us feel safe. She lets us help make pancakes on Sundays, Olivia added, clutching her teddy bear. It was a simple truth, but it was everything. Margaret may have been their grandmother, but Rachel was their home. After weeks of legal battles, the judge finally ruled. Full custody awarded to Rachel Donovan. The relief that washed over her was overwhelming. She had won. She had fought for them, and she had won. With custody settled, Rachel focused on creating a real home for the twins, one where they could heal, grow, and finally feel safe. She transformed the spare guest room into a bright, warm bedroom for them, matching beds from Pottery Barn, bookshelves filled with fairy tales and adventure stories, walls painted in soft pastel shades. The first night they slept in their new room, Olivia whispered, "Aunt Rachel, can we stay here forever?" Rachel's throat tightened. She knelt beside their beds, brushing a strand of hair from Sophie's face. "This is your home now," she promised. Forever. As the months passed, a new normal took shape. Rachel learned to balance work and motherhood, carving out time for school drop-offs, bedtime routines, and impromptu dance parties in the living room. She wasn't alone in this journey, unexpected support poured in from her community. Jennifer, a single mother from their neighborhood, began helping with school pickups. The Trinity Church Women's Group, once blindsided by Margaret's involvement in the fraud, stepped in with homemade meals and offers to babysit. Sophie and Olivia's school counselor gave extra attention to their emotional well-being, ensuring they adjusted. Even Margaret, in time, seemed to change. One afternoon, she arrived at Rachel's door with a batch of cookies, a humble attempt at making amends. "I was wrong," she admitted quietly. "I thought I was protecting the family's name. I should have been protecting them." Rachel wasn't ready to forgive yet, but she saw something in her mother's eyes, guilt, maybe even regret. That was a battle for another day. For now, Rachel had two little girls who needed her more than anything else. A year later, Sophie and Olivia's 6th birthday party was held in Rachel's backyard. It wasn't extravagant, just a simple gathering with homemade lemonade, cupcakes from a local bakery, and laughter echoing through the air. "Make a wish," someone called as the girls blew out their candles. Rachel watched as they squeezed their eyes shut, faces glowing with pure joy. She didn't know what they wished for. But standing there, surrounded by friends, family, and the life she had built, Rachel realized she didn't need a wish of her own. She had already found her purpose, her family, and the future she never saw coming. And for the first time in years, she knew, this was exactly where she was meant to be. 1 year had passed since Rachel Donovan won custody of Sophie and Olivia. The chaos of courtrooms and betrayal had faded into the past, replaced by a life of stability, love, and quiet victories. On a crisp December evening, the Donovan home was filled with the warm glow of Christmas lights. The living room smelled of freshly baked cookies, and soft holiday music played in the background. A tall Christmas tree stood proudly in the corner, adorned with homemade ornaments, each one painted by tiny hands that had once trembled with uncertainty but now flourished with confidence. Rachel stood by the fireplace, hanging 3 stockings, one for each of them. "Love you, Mom," Sophie murmured sleepily, curling into her aunt's side. Rachel's breath caught. "Mom." The word wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace. "I love you too, sweetheart," she whispered, pressing a kiss to Sophie's hair. Rachel had spent the past year not just raising the twins but rebuilding their sense of security. Therapy sessions had helped them process their parents' abandonment. Their once timid laughter now filled the home effortlessly. Olivia had discovered a passion for painting, her bedroom walls covered in colorful artwork. Sophie had taken to music lessons, eagerly plunking out simple melodies on the piano. But Rachel, too, had changed. For years, she had defined herself by her career, her independence, her carefully planned life. Now, she understood something deeper: family wasn't about perfection. It was about love, resilience, and the people who choose to stay. And someone unexpected had chosen to stay. A soft knock at the front door pulled Rachel from her thoughts. She opened it to find Dr. Aaron Whitman, the pediatrician who had been caring for the twins. He smiled, holding out a small wrapped gift. "For the girls," he said, then hesitated. "And, maybe dinner next week?" Rachel blinked, feeling a warmth she hadn't expected. She looked back at Sophie and Olivia, who were now giggling as they played with their new piano sheet music. For the first time in years, Rachel allowed herself to think, maybe it was okay to open her heart again. She smiled. "I'd love that." This story serves as a powerful reminder that family is not just defined by blood, but by those who choose to stay, protect, and love unconditionally. Rachel never expected to become a mother to Sophie and Olivia, but when faced with betrayal and abandonment, she made the right choice: to step up, fight, and give the children a true home. It is also a lesson about the cost of greed and deception. Vanessa and Michael, consumed by their obsession with appearances, sacrificed everything: money, reputation, and most of all, the love of their own children. But life is not an Instagram perfect picture, and no matter how carefully crafted a lie may be, the truth will always surface. Justice may be delayed, but it is never denied. More importantly, the story carries a message of healing and hope. Even the deepest wounds can be mended by genuine love. Through resilience and compassion, Rachel not only saved two innocent children, she found a real family, a love that asked for nothing in return, and a future she never imagined for herself. Because sometimes, family is not where you come from, it's where you truly belong.